Hello, welcome to Red Talks. If you watch MGTOW content at all regularly, I'm sure you know what's happened with Yogi Obes. He's said a few things that pissed off a lot of MGTOW in the community, and I just want to give my thoughts about more the overall picture of what's going on in MGTOW and not really get into the specifics of what Yogi's talking about, because this is something that's actually concerned me for quite a while. Sometimes people just need to stop and think before they have knee-jerk reactions, and this has happened several times in the MGTOW community. And I know some people are going to get triggered just because I said the word community or, movement. And this is exactly my point. These MGTOW guys are very sensitive. It's almost like these SJW snowflakes, it seems like nowadays. I would think masculine, full-blooded testosterone men would be a little more thick-skinned and be able to take it on the nose and think more rationally and logically, and it seems like a lot of them can't. A lot of them are very overreactive and very sensitive these days, and I think we need to just stop, chill out for a second, and think, with a red pill mindset on how to deal with these situations when they come up. Yogi said some things about a couple of MGTOW guys that were basically making reaction videos to a female dating coach, and some of the comments that these other MGTOW guys said, weren't the most constructive. To be honest, they weren't. A lot of it was just bashing, just shit talking, and you see a lot of that in the comments. And it might make you feel good to get that off your chest, but in the reality of things, that stuff doesn't really do any good. Even if you disagree with somebody, that's, in my mind, that's not truly red pill. That's not really the way, masculinity should be presented. Masculine men should be speaking their mind from a clear point of view that clearly states what they disagree with, and try to, reach a conclusion if possible. It's hard to do sometimes in the YouTube comments because they get, so buried sometimes. There's a lot of them, and, people just can't get to all of them, and they can just drag on and on and on. But you do see this, and this really reinforces the negative points that we as men receive from feminists and from women in general and from the media. A lot of this shitty, behavior from men, not just MGTOW man, but, any other man, just reinforces that and makes their case look more true on the surface. A lot of these men come in and just call women sluts and call them all sorts of names. And even amongst ourselves, we get into these fights in the YouTube comment sections and other places. John from MGTOW is Freedom and Society Men's Freedom, he was attacked for doing the CNN interview for basically no reason. Big fucking deal. So what? He did a CNN interview, but men lost their shit and just had knee-jerk reactions. And like I said, this isn't red pill at all. Zeitgeist Eater is one of the best guys to really try to keep MGTOW on the right path and make sure the MGTOW narrative is true, and not turning into this ignorant hive mind mentality, which I see a lot of evidence for nowadays. We have a lot of new MGTOW content creators basically popping up almost every day. We have a lot of influence that is spreading every day. So we have a lot of new people coming in, and a lot of people who are still in that red pill rage stage, which is fine. You need to deal with that. It's one of the basic cycles that everybody is going to go through. But we need to make sure that we are not acting irrationally, or not just being a blind, ignorant hive mind. And Zeitgeist Eater always proposes to use a litmus test. And basically that is an excellent way to help weed out, people who you want to pay attention to and people who you want to ignore, or people you want to, make sure aren't coming into MGTOW for nefarious reasons. So, in the case of Yogi Obes, people are calling him a chameleon, a sympathizer, a POA, what else? Infiltrator, all these various, names are getting thrown out. And when you're thinking of calling somebody that, you should be thinking, okay, what makes them a POA? What makes them a chameleon? What makes them a sympathizer? What makes them this, that, and the third? And consistency should be taken into consideration. Yogi Obes has some very good, consistent information to share. I wouldn't just write him off based on one video that he made that you disagree with. That's pretty childish. That's pretty immature. That's, a emotional reaction, just like a woman would have. It's pretty pathetic in my mind. He said some things that might come off as shameful, shaming tactics. And I'm not 100% against shaming tactics. Shaming tactics have been proven to work against people who are overweight. There have been studies that have been done showing that people got the motivation to get off their ass and go lose weight because people were saying they're a bunch of fat asses. And if it works, it works. It's used in the military. The military uses, shaming language and calls these weak, pathetic worms for men, and they, turn them into fighters. So shaming language does work. Shaming tactics can work, but they need to come from a point that has some logic behind it. You can't just call somebody, some stupid names like your, kids on the playground bullying each other. There needs to be some reason and rational points being made within that shaming language. And Yogi did have some points. He was pointing out how some of the things that the particular MGTOW guys didn't really work with the situation, with the context that was given. They were kind of, like I said, just name calling and for the sake of name calling. One thing that I like to always use as an example on how to determine whether I want to listen to somebody or not, or continue to deal with somebody, is I think of my own grandmother. I love my grandmother. She's no longer on this earth, but I think of how much love I had for my grandmother, and she would say something stupid sometimes. She would say something I disagree with sometimes, but does that mean I don't love my grandmother anymore? Am I no longer going to go visit grandmother, on the holidays because she happened to say this one thing that I disagree with? No. I'm going to, ignore the one thing that I disagree with, maybe try to debate the thing that I disagree with, but I'm not going to just shut her out. And a lot of MGTOW guys do that. They have these almost like an all or nothing attitude. There are many channels on here that kind of have MGTOW sprinkled in, but they're not dedicated MGTOW channels. Economic Invincibility is one of them. I watch his stuff all the time, but he's not a dedicated MGTOW channel. Same with Yogi Obes. He's not what I would call a 100% dedicated MGTOW channel, but he has a lot of information that's, to me, is valuable. And I wouldn't just write him off for one video that I disagree with. And I hope many other MGTOW guys would actually adopt that mindset. Maybe have a 3-strike rule, something like that. A lot of guys pick on LFA. A lot of guys, I don't know. There's channels out there. The female red pill channels that are out there, kind of the anti-feminism videos that a lot of these women are coming out with nowadays. Same thing. You see a lot of ignorant, dumb, hive mind, hateful comments in these female channels for no reason. There a lot of them on, you go on Ukrainian Lens channel and see comments saying, "Oh, she's just in it for the money." Well, guess what? Ukrainian Lens doesn't even monetize her videos. So people who are saying that are being dumbasses. Emotional knee-jerk reactions. So Christy O'Misty, she's been doing this shit since, you know, before half you guys even knew what MGTOW was. She had another channel that got deleted a long time ago, and then she started making more videos later on. She was actually getting death threats and had to get rid of her channel, and she basically went dark for a while. But she's one of the OGs who came out against feminism, and you see guys on her calling her a chameleon and calling her all sorts of stupid, you know, names that don't really apply. So, and the hypocrisy is just rampant today in the MGTOW community. If you go on to just about any female red pill channel or feminist channel, you'll see comments from men saying, oh, women should just shut their mouth. They shouldn't be allowed to speak on behalf of men's issues. And then in the same breath, these guys after that will say, let's see if these women actually take action and try to actually, you know, help out with men's issues. Well, which is it, guys? You can't have both. Do you want them to shut up and not talk about men's issues? Or do you want them to actually go out and be proactive and try to help with men's issues? What, you know, one or the other. And then you get these guys that say all women are sluts and they don't like them, but then they just want women for pumping and dumping, and that's all they're good for. And probably the biggest evidence of hypocrisy I see is where you will have a rational MGTOW guy that says, yeah, this is just how women are. It's female nature. We accept it. Women aren't necessarily the enemy. It's just the way they are. It's just like a snake. You know, do you get pissed off at a snake for biting you? No, that's what it does. It's a snake. It bites. And then they turn around and they still shit talk women. And it gets pretty ridiculous at that point. Alpha Male Guide just put out a really good video on this. I highly recommend you watch, which I totally agree with. A lot of issues are, you know, because men are the root cause. You know, men have some issues themselves they're not quite clear on, they need to deal with. But going back to the 3-strike rule, you know, maybe, you know, give Yogi 3 chances, you know. So he fucked up this one time. Let's see if he makes a correction. Maybe he'll come out with a video clarifying what he meant. I don't know. Maybe maybe he won't. You know, everybody that I watch regularly, you know, Turd Flinging Monkey has said some things that I disagree with, but I still respect him and I still watch him. I don't just write somebody off simply because I disagree with them. And if you do, sorry, that's not really red pill. I have even said things myself that I disagree with against myself. So I know if I disagree with something, you know, maybe I said in the past that maybe I've changed my opinion on. I know there's definitely people out there that might disagree with me, and I hope that they would give me the same, you know, rational, you know, courtesy that I would give you. At the very beginning of this year, my first video that I put out for 2019 was actually a video where I was basically pretending to be a feminist, and it was all sarcasm. It was just a satire piece, and I had a whole bunch of guys come in and they didn't even watch the fucking video. They unsubbed, they dropped a dislike, and some of them posted negative comments, and it was what a shit show. These, you know, supposedly rational red-pilled men can't even, you know, watch a 5-minute video and understand what it is. They just, you know, more evidence of, you know, morons in the MGTOW community. So it is what it is. So sometimes, you know, as MGTOW guys, let's just chill out for a second and try not to have knee-jerk reactions. Let's try to be a little more rational, more red-pilled, less emotional in our attitudes on how we see others. And let's support each other best we can. So if we disagree, we disagree. So what? Let's do it like men. And that's it. So thank you for watching. Have a good one.